We'll have some more thoughts on Dick Cheney from past memory from yours truly, but let's start with the basics. Breezy, windy Tuesday voting day. Our poll question up on X here. Good morning, New Hampshire, the pulse of an H. Our poll question up on X is, do you intend to vote today? Yes or no? There are local elections. There's big races in New Jersey. We're going to have all that. John Decker, our own White House correspondent. Reminder, you can watch us on video as well now. We are streaming live the Pulse of an H on YouTube, the first hour of the show. But we begin our Tuesday. It is November 4th. We're about 9:08 this morning. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Locally, regionally up into Maine, we have additional signals for you, including 98.7 FM HD2, in addition to 98.1 FM Seacoast in New Hampshire, Dover, Portsmouth, Rochester, you name it, and right up into York County, Maine, and 1270 AM. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the Pulse of an H, 107.3 FM in the Lakes region, 107.7 FM, the Pulse of an H, Manchester, Concord. So good morning to you. We're going to have more. We won't really know, and we'll see. It's interesting to see if these polls are right. I remember the polls on November 5th. I don't know if you remember, there was kind of a big election on November 5th. The polls said we wouldn't know that day or night who won between Trump and Harris. It might be weeks or months. Both sides were hiring lawyers to contest, especially in the battleground states. I think we remember how that one went. I have no idea. Brad Card, one of our great political analysts and all-stars, said yesterday he expects all these contests. The national media is focusing on the New York City mayoral race. Mamdani, I would think, wins that. Brad thinks in New Jersey as well as Virginia. Brad thinks Democrats. He goes, you got to remember, they're blue states. But everyone will jump into this. Is this a test of the Trump agenda going into the midterms? Government shutdown continuing. We had Governor Kelly Ayotte on the show yesterday. We'll update you tomorrow morning when these mobile food pantries are up and running through the food bank and DHHS. You can Google all this, Department of Health and Human Services, New Hampshire, DHHS on the food side. So we have a lot going on this morning. Some of the other guests this morning, Dan Egan, great outdoor adventurous skier, Warren Miller's film days. He's on a mountaintop somewhere, whether it's New Hampshire or over in the Alps. He'll be joining us, his latest podcast, but Dan Egan on the 10 o'clock hour. We're going to hear from Adam with Alpine Gold and some of the stuff you're doing there with the economy. Dean Spiliotis, Southern Hampshire University, in the next hour, looking back, remembering Dick Cheney as we get going. John Decker, as I said, our own White House correspondent, will preview some of the elections today. But whatever you're doing, hope you're having a good start for the day. It is breezy out there, but clear. But I'm looking at J-Dog in our Capitol studios here where you and I both are, because I know you love it when I'm in the studio with you. But you see in the trees, I guess some of the wind gust out there will be 25 to 30, 35 miles per hour. I have no idea. I'm getting to the point where I don't even know what's going to happen on this government shutdown. I really don't. I keep seeing stories, WMUR has a piece today on their website. Pappas Hassan say government shutdown causing increasing concerns in New Hampshire. Well, then vote to open the government. House already has, where Mr. Pappas still sits, but senators, New Hampshire senators. I saw a video yesterday. Elizabeth Warren's been, going down to Florida with Murphy from Connecticut and some of the other senators talking about health care instead of talking about federal workers being paid. I don't know. I really don't know. I got to be honest with you. We had a law enforcement, high-ranking federal law enforcement official who lives in New Hampshire, listens to the show. I asked him to come on yesterday. He said he cannot. He said they've been told not to talk about the government shutdown. But he said, I'm telling you, a lot of the folks, younger folks, families that he works with, federal law enforcement, I'll just leave it at that. That could be FBI, marshals, U.S. marshals. He said they're not getting paid. And it's getting real old, real fast. So I'm watching this thing. I think there's going to be another vote today. It'll be the 14th vote that the Senate's had, 14th vote to just reopen the government. Now, I feel like a broken record, like an old Jackson Browne song. I'm just singing the same lyrics. I don't know if you know this, because the polls are interesting on who to blame. How about blaming Congress? Even if they vote to reopen the government this week, November 21st is when the funding runs out. This is wacko. This is insane. It's nuts. And I really am starting to feel badly because I know how expensive things are and the cost of living. I think of the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard workers, apparently more than our members of our federal delegation who keep voting to not reopen the government. They're not getting paid. I mean, I don't really. It's just this is like juvenile delinquent politics. It's like when you're 9 or 10 years old and you're playing a board game. Remember board games like Monopoly or Risk or Start? You're playing a board game and it doesn't go your way. So you just fight, you get in an argument in the board game. I'm not gonna play anymore. It's just both sides. It just is getting so juvenile. Reopen the government. Get together, talk about the healthcare subsidies, talk about stuff. How about talking about the debt, $37 trillion, or a longer plan to not have looming government shutdowns? But these federal workers, these are families that can't afford, they don't have the money coming in. I mean, Wallet Hub and all these groups do studies all the time. Most, I don't have the numbers in front of me. 70 or 80% of families are living paycheck to paycheck. But, here's another mistake, as Elizabeth Warren goes down to Florida and does her videos, they're all doing videos versus interviews and answering questions. They do their videos. It's part of I do videos for the show to promote our show. I mean, I'm not knocking that. I mean, some candidates, John E. Sununu announced for the U.S. Senate through a video. I mean, I get the social media stuff. My point is she's down in Florida. She's getting paid. The senator from Massachusetts, former presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren, she from Cambridge, Mass, the People's Republic at Cambridge, she's getting paid to go down to Florida and politic. She's getting paid. Taxpayers' money she's using to go down to Florida to drive around with a couple senators to talk about health care and health insurance. She's getting paid. Just a reminder. Dick Cheney passing away. Interesting. A lot of people have already heard from some people in New Hampshire. A lot of memories of Dick Cheney here in New Hampshire. He was up here a lot. People forget with George W. Bush. He had served Bush Sr., former Defense Secretary, Dick Cheney. People forget when George W. Bush was governor of Texas and ran and was going to win. He tapped Dick Cheney to kind of pick his cabinet, pick a running mate. People forget this, pick a running mate. And George W. Bush ended up picking Dick Cheney. And then Andrew Card, Brad Card's brother, became White House chief of staff. Dick Cheney, very influential, very powerful during the Bush presidency. A lot of stuff, people still remembering Iraq and other stuff, but Dick Cheney passing away, 84 years old. And we'll have some more thoughts on that. I had met him several times up here in New Hampshire, WMUR TV days or just different times, but a very interesting, and some would say vice presidents. If you look at, I'm being totally serious here, I'm not being flip. If you look at Kamala Harris with Joe Biden, she wasn't as influential as some people thought towards the end. I remember the 60 Minutes at a piece almost saying that, hey, Harris is in the meeting. She's in the national security. She's actually, an important vice president. But the reality during the Biden administration is the people around Joe Biden, the kings around Joe Biden who weren't elected, get that? The kings around Joe Biden who were kind of propping up the Biden presidency kind of kept Harris over here. You go back to past vice presidents and Joe Biden, people forget, former vice president for Barack Obama, but you go back and certainly Dick Cheney had that presence about him, certainly a formidable, strong vice president, whether you liked him or not, for G.W. Bush. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of Age. Come back. We'll tell you some positive community news about an auction, a Rotary auction. We'll have a quick call on that to update you on that. And we're going to have more on the food stuff tomorrow and how, if you rely on food assistance at any level, which is not a small matter, more people. We have 26 nonprofits in New Hampshire that provide food services year round, by the way, not just during a government shutdown with all this finger pointing, year round. Also, I'm going to talk about New Hampshire public schools and these budget issues, managing school budgets. Do you know that we have more than 100 school superintendents in the state of New Hampshire? More than 100. And each superintendent makes closer to $200,000 a year than, say, 100. 100 superintendents in New Hampshire. 100, more than 100. I think about 25 could probably manage New Hampshire school districts, don't you? Put the money back into teachers or some of these budgets, but we'll talk about that. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Inch. Jack, Keith, J-Dog on the boards. Voting day locally and in some key states. Back in a moment. Good morning, Mike. Any chance you can do 10:50 this morning or 11:20? Question mark. Thank you, Jack. All right, it's voting day. Are you going to vote today? That's a simple question. Yes or no. Locally, we have some races going on, other states, key states, but it is November 4th, Tuesday. Yes or no? That poll question's up on X and results from yesterday, J Dog. So, one more time on the results because I want to hear that again. Wow. I want to go over J-Dog, and if Mike calls in on that Rotary, but I'll just promote the there's a Rotary, the club in Concord has an auction. So if you want to support that, you can locally look it up. But we always like to try and get in the good news. But the mobile food stuff, I think sometimes it just goes over people's head. We had Governor Ayotte live yesterday talking about the mobile food pantries that are up and running tomorrow, Wednesday, November 5th. But I want to take a moment because I find with veterans the same thing sometimes with the VA or other groups. Everything today is online. I don't mean to bring up an example, but talk about online today, and it's not going to change. It's just the human touch, especially with all the AI and computer. I mean, just the enhancement of technology. But I had an Easy Pass question yesterday on just some Easy Pass, and it wasn't the scam where you get the text message, which is totally scam and spam. Don't look at it. But I know I had a legitimate, in the mail invoice and some invoice, it was like $4.50. But I'm like, just had a question about it because I'm like, wait a minute, my transponder hasn't changed. It's in the same location. Why am I getting? So when you look at I'm going somewhere here with red tape and bureaucracy. When you look at the Easy Pass letter you get, there is a customer service number. So, me, I call it. I'm out walking. I call it thinking I got 5-10 minutes. I'm going to talk to someone. So you go through the automatic. Hi, we have a new virtual assistant. My name is Julie. I can help you. How can I help you? I said, I have questions on my, invoice here on a couple of, what do you call it? Toll things. And I'd like to speak to an agent. Oh, okay. Stand by, hold on a minute. I'll connect you with an agent. Then I'm, listening to music. Then this is what I hear next. We're going to connect you with an agent. You are 118 in line. What? 118? Does this happen to you? 118? I mean, sometimes when you call the pharmacy or your credit card company, they say, please hold you're the third caller in line. So you just conveniently, show a little patience, and within 8 minutes or 10 minutes, you're on. 118. But the food stuff is important, regardless of your politics. And I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, well, 75,000 people in New Hampshire are on SNAP benefits. But what you don't know, and we found this out because the Binney family of radio stations, Binney Media and the Pulse, when we've done our caring and sharing. And by the way, to support these food pantries, we're taking action right here. This show, our network, our stations. You can text CARE, C-A-R-E, to 78,000 now through our charitable group that oversees the stations and Binney Media, and we're gonna get the money to the food banks. So text CARE to 78,000. We're showing that we care, and we do. But when we've done these annual food drives to support 26 food pantries in the spring, nothing to do with the government shutdown, nothing to do with votes that reopen the government, nothing to do with SNAP, nothing to do with health insurance. I learned that these food pantries are busy year round. Every night, every week, all across our state, 26 of them. Nothing to do with the SNAP stuff. Nothing to do with that. These food pantries are among us in our communities that you can support. These nonprofits, they're doing angel work. They're making meals for people, for families with kids. Tuesday night on a weekday where you go by and pick up 3 or 4 nice meals you can heat up at home, like roast chicken, vegetables, good food. These food pantries are amazing, and they're real, and the need is real. From Gather in Portsmouth to the food bank in Manchester, and I keep saying the Liberty House in Manchester does do transitional housing for veterans, but their kitchen produces meals every night, like well over 100 dinners for veterans and their families to come by and pick up. The food stuff is real. So I wanted to just take a moment after the governor was on yesterday on how you can look this stuff up if you're impacted by the SNAP stuff, by the federal stuff, by the shutdown. Our state's taking action versus like some of these other states where the governors are whining and finger pointing and blaming Donald Trump for everything in their lives, including health issues that they have. I mean, blame Trump for your toothache, your cervical disc pain, your migraines. Blame Trump for everything. But New Hampshire, they're not blaming, they're doing. our executive council, lawmakers, and Governor Ayotte. She was on yesterday. So if you want information, I'm going to make it easy for you versus 118 in line waiting to talk to someone. Department of Health and Human Services has a local number. So I have it for you. You can call them and say, hey, I heard Jack talking on the radio about some of the stuff. I have an EBT card. There's a balance on it. Can I use it? Where I live in, I'm just throwing this out there. I live in Epsom. Where's the food pantry tomorrow? You want to call? And be nice to these people too, by the way, because they're doing a lot of work at Department of Health and Human Services, and they're not overstaffed. Trust me. 603-275-3447. 603-275-3447. And tomorrow, these mobile food pantries are going to be throughout the state, not just in Manchester or Concord or Salem or, the bigger cities, Nashua. These are going to be throughout the state. And if you want to learn where they're going to be, you can look at the DHHS website for the food pantries. And the website, again, it's a long one. I apologize, but it's the way it is. dhhs.nh.gov/federal shutdown. Look it up, or that number, 603-275-3447, or the state's partnering with the New Hampshire Food Bank. So you can go to nhfoodbank.org. That's an easy one to remember. nhfoodbank.org. nhfoodbank.org. And we're making a difference here. The Pulse of an H. You can text CARE to 78,000. Text CARE to 78,000. Make a donation. Goes to one of these 26 food pantries. Text CARE to 78,000. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an HR on White House correspondent John Decker. Around the corner, Renee Plummer telling you how veterans count. Part of Easter Seals is stepping up right now, and it's making a difference. Back in a moment. I'm sorry, but Senator Elizabeth Warren going to Florida and doing her video with some senators talking about health insurance in Florida. And I get it to a point, but she starts off, we're down in Florida to talk about the Republican shutdown. They're having another vote today. It's the 14th. Senator Warren will vote no to reopen the government. Is it a Republican shutdown or Senator Warren? Is it Democrats that are not voting to reopen the government? Just curious. Are you moving to Florida, by the way? Or you got your house in Cambridge, Mass still? Just curious. All right, John Decker, our White House correspondent, checking in. John, some elections today, a lot going on. Kind of a interesting time with this government shutdown still going. And it's just kind of strange, the whole thing. But we want to check in with Election Day. Our own White House correspondent, John Decker, looking at Virginia. Probably not so much Virginia, but this New Jersey governor's race, New York, and California, as well as right here at home. Good morning, John. Yeah, John, I don't know. I would think these are blue states, although Youngkin did well in Virginia, but I would think New Jersey, New York would stay Democrat in these races. And how much is this going to be the national ABC, NBC tonight saying, or tomorrow, the Trump agenda in trouble going into the midterms? I mean, is that what do you think? How does this play? We don't know. And are the polls even accurate? On November 5th, we were told, don't expect to know the winner tonight. It'll be weeks or months before we know who won between Trump and Harris. And right. And in a strange way, does it provide an off ramp for Democrats to say if they do well tonight, hey, okay, we're going to vote to reopen the government. We want to sit down and talk about health insurance subsidies for Affordable Care Act because you can see that we're not wrong here. Do you think that gives them an out here or not? Right. Sean Decker, thank you. Our own White House correspondent. Thank you. I was just talking about the food pantries and the stand-up mobile clinic, mobile food pantries tomorrow that are available, and the phone numbers slowly and carefully. And Renee Plummer joined us a week or so ago in the time of this government shutdown, reminding veterans and their spouses and families, veterans count part of Easter Seals is there for you, regardless of food stuff. But if someone in your family's not getting paid during the federal government shutdown, you're just a veteran who served, there's support for you. And we gave the phone number. I've been getting some good feedback that people were very pleased when they contacted Veterans Council. We had Renee coming back to talk about this because she has one of the folks that really over the years helped stand up this wonderful organization and led the Seacoast efforts and beyond, donated and supported so much and raised so much money for Veterans Count, which ultimately led to this wonderful campus in Franklin. Good morning, Renee, with an update. Right. Renee, could you do one thing? Because you've run into this. You've had veterans come into your home. You've talked to them, spouses. I want you to role play with me. Say I'm a veteran. I'm reluctant to call Veterans Count. I appreciate what Renee's done. I appreciate the phone number. Um, we have about $1,200 in our family budget that we don't have money for right now to fix the hot water heater or the vehicle that the kids, using it, or we just don't have enough money. But I feel funny calling them, even though I served, asking for it. What do you say to that reluctant veteran? Yeah, right. And I've heard, and I don't want to be quoted, but I've heard it's not one of these things like you're waiting 100 people in line to talk to someone that within a couple days you could get that financial support. I think that's amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I know. We raised the money. The money's one more time. I know. I know. And you know what? The money's raised throughout the year for this. So $1,200. Yep. Yep. And $1,200 when you don't have it might as well be $120,000, right? I know. Just because of could be a or fuel. It could be propane, it could be oil, it could be the furnace. Yeah, yeah. Please call because it's not, we've always said on the show on the radiothons, Renee, it's not a handout, it's a hand up because you served. What us serve you, right? All right. Thank you. Calm down. Thank you. I love your passion. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, the site too is easy, vetscount.org. Vetscount.org, part of Easter Seals. Now more than ever, vetscount.org. All right, we're going to get a quick check in. I thought he was going earlier, but we're going to at least let him tell us about the Rotary auction. Mike, good morning. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of NH. Tell us about the Rotary auction and how people can help. Give us a snapshot, Mike, on a couple of the items. Wait a minute. You mean J Dog is going out to a child's birthday party as the Grinch? My grandkid, my grandson loves it. He'll come over and say, "Grint, Grint." Well, I'm going to watch the Grinch. All of a sudden, he sits there, and the one with Jim Carrey just loves every scene. All right, one more, and then tell us how we can help and the website and all that again. Oh, nice. Good stuff. Awesome. Good feeling, huh? Yeah, it's a good. Yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, it is. I know. It's awesome. Yep. Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. Love it. Love the passion. Thanks, Mike. Go Bow Rotary. Thank you, Mike. We come back. We'll talk some gold and silver next on the Pulse of an H. You know, we've talked about the cost of everything in terms of, yesterday I was sharing on the show some real estate numbers. Talk about eye opening. You can go to, used to be Rocket Mortgage. I think they merged with Redfin, but you can Google market forecast. And with AI today, the they put together like all the sales of homes in a community of New Hampshire, say Concord, New Hampshire in September of 2025. It will show you the home sales and the average median home price and the trends and the forecast. So if you do that in communities to give you an idea of how unaffordable, and that's why we focus on affordable housing on Wednesdays, brought to you by Ledyard Bank with solutions, but unaffordable. The median home price of a home in Portsmouth, New Hampshire is now inching up close to $800,000. It's about $300,000 or $250,000 more than the median home price for all of New Hampshire. How about this one? Meredith, New Hampshire. Meredith in the Lakes region. Median home price for the fall of 2025, almost $1.2 million in Meredith. Peterborough, New Hampshire, in the western part of the state, median home price $620,000. In a lot of these towns, what's happening, and I put these pieces together, the same Redfin housing market forecast, if you look at like Meredith or Portsmouth, will show you that. It would also show you where people are migrating from, where they're moving from, where they're buying from. In New York, not a big surprise, right? New York is number one on the list. People are leaving New York. Tell the governor there that. I don't know if she knows that. They're leaving New York and coming here. It's true in Maine as well. They're coming here to buy in New England from New York, followed by Connecticut, believe it or not. And then Massachusetts, number 3. So the problem is that's free market supply and demand at work. The problem is if you've lived in Meredith, New Hampshire, second generation, third generation, and you're, in your 60s or 50s, and Meredith has changed a lot, and you used to be able to get a home in Meredith for a third of what you now get. When they do the reevaluations, based on what your home is worth, even if the property tax rate doesn't go up, if you have a home that you bought into under $500,000 and now it's worth $1.1 million in the property reevaluation, your property taxes are going up big time. It's happened in Portsmouth. It's happening all over the state, these reevaluations, and it drives property taxes up. It's based on the value of your home. So the good news is your home is worth more. The bad news is you can't afford to live in it if property taxes go through the roof. But let's talk about property taxes, because Maine, by the way, per capita has some of the highest property tax rates in the country. I don't know if you knew that. Google it. And they have an income and sales tax. So when people tell you, if New Hampshire had like a 3% income tax and a sales tax, our property taxes would go down. No, they would not. That is a bunch of BS. Taxes never go down. I got news for you. Show me taxes that ever go down. They go one way, folks. Now, property taxes, it's interesting. If you look at these communities, one of the bigger pieces, and a lot of the people moving there don't even have kids in school, is the local education. Schools, as well as public works, roads, library, parks, police, fire, EMTs. And a lot of these communities don't even have a full-time fire department. We have wonderful volunteer fire departments that go through the training. But when you call 911, if you're living in your $1.5 million home in Meredith or anywhere in New Hampshire, you want an EMT there if you're suffering a medical emergency. So your property taxes matter for the local stuff. But the interesting thing in schools is enrollments are going down. Public enrollments for schools like undergraduate are going down, not up. So public education entities are going down. They're going down even at the University of New Hampshire and Durham. Enrollments are going down. So when you look at property taxes, you really do wonder how they keep going up if the biggest piece of the pizza slice is public education, if there are fewer students. And I'm being told by teachers and people that really make a difference that special education is going up. So the demands for kids in public schools from teachers that are trained, the cost, ironically, with fewer students is going up. But property taxes in these towns where you have, again, I went through the real estate numbers. You look at, who would have thought Meredith, New Hampshire, the average home price, not high, average home price in Meredith. I just picked Meredith. You could say Guilford. Wolfborough's higher. Meredith is $1.2 million, fall of 2025. Portsmouth is about $800,000 right now. And by the way, living on the seacoast, you are lucky if you can get a home in Portsmouth for $800,000 that doesn't need $300,000 to put into it. So that's what's going on. No one's telling you. Very unaffordable housing. And you know, we need to focus on that, and tomorrow we'll do that on our affordable housing segment. All right, let me at least intro a segment. We'll continue in the next block. But speaking of the economy, talking a lot this morning, Adam with Alpine Gold, alpinegold.com, talking some sense when it comes to gold and silver. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great this morning. Thank you for having me on.
I forgot what you looked like. I haven't seen you in a few weeks.
I know.
You got kind of the LL Bean look going.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that going on. Yeah, I've been losing weight too. I'm surprised you even recognized me. So
I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let that sit right there. Hey, let's just get an update on the gold and silver, because I know in the next segment you're doing some good stuff in the community. But let's just talk a little bit of the economy. And you know, about a few weeks ago, gold was breaching that all-time bump, and silver was getting up there like you had predicted last summer.
that's right. You know, it was an exciting time a few weeks ago when the silver squeeze happened to the London Bullion Exchange.
The silver squeeze, I like that.
Yeah, that's what happened. So what happened was America pulled back a lot of their gold and silver from the London Bullion Exchange, where we had it on lease to them. That's how they got it all, and they were pulling it back. And then these big investors, they started using the London Bullion Exchange as if, you know, to make money on it. That's what they do. That's what these investors do. They started shorting it, and so they put on a silver squeeze because they knew that the exchange was under pressure. And there for 2 weeks, they were shipping gold and silver back to America, and then Connex had to send them gold and silver to replenish that. So it caused this big frenzy in the market that shot up.
Yeah.
You know, some 20 or 30%. Very exciting stuff. You know, very exciting.
Well, to you, but to me, it's like, you know, oh, wow, okay, yeah.
Well, everything does this.
Right. It's a world. It's a you know, it's a world picture, right?
That's right. And we were telling people that, you know, this is very exciting time. There's a lot of money being made, and be ready, because these markets, they dip back down, and they did. They dipped back down to around $46 an ounce for silver and $4,000 for gold, which is where we want it to be.
Well, I want our listeners to know, because I've heard from listeners, you could buy through you easy, alpinegold.com, real easy. Buy and use the Pulse as one word at checkout. Shipping's free. So you want to buy some silver, a couple $100, you want to buy some gold backs, the Pulse. Or you can join because you have services. But one thing like silver, for example, I still think it's very affordable. You can get a lot of it. But with all the AI, all the data centers, all the technology boom that you're seeing, a $38 billion deal, you know, with a couple of the for the cloud stuff for Amazon, it takes silver to do this high-tech stuff. And I see increasing demand for that, especially with all the technology advances with AI.
Yeah, all the AI chips, NVIDIA and all these companies, they have to have silver. It's the most reflective metal, and it's what they use in all of these chips. And so there's a high industry demand, and then there's a high kind of a retail demand as well for gold and silver, because it's a great investment opportunity and it's approachable. So it works really well.
But again, buying some, you know, could be just a little bit a month. Talk about peace of mind, because with everything else, stocks, paper, dollar, I don't want to get into the government shutdown. We still have a debt that no one's talking about. You notice that, by the way, during the government shutdown, no one's talking about the debt. We just want to reopen the government. I'm trying to get, you know, people to direct in if they need some food assistance, but no one's talking about the debt. So just get a little bit of gold and silver in the in your home drawer or the safe, or just keep it with you and just go to alpinegold.com, right?
That's right. Go to alpinegold.com. You can even open up an account there where you can buy, sell, trade in gold and silver online. And you can even put it into our lease program and gain 2% fees on your metals. You're actually getting paid 2% on your metals.
And even if you did $50 or $100 a month, you can do it, set it up with you. So it's each month you just keep adding.
You set it up with an automatic bill pay, just like you do from your bank. And then every month you're paying $25, $50, $100. You could do $5 a month. You could do as little or as much as you wanted.
And all I know is gold and silver been around for a while.
It has. And this holiday season, we've got something even better. If they come in to our office and they open a UPMA account, we're going to give them a free ounce of silver.
Oh, wow. And that's 1800 Elm Street, Manchester.
1800 Elm Street. Give us a call, 603-836-8814 to schedule your appointment, and we'll get you set up.
And tell them you're a Pulse listener. You might even get a candy cane.
That's right. Lots of candy right now.
All right. When we come back, more of this. We're going to talk also about a great program to honor our veterans and a whole lot more. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Back in a moment.